Hello, everyone out there in the world today. Today is February 12th, 2025, when I'm making this recording. I'm not sure if I'll put it up until a day or two out into the future, but this is Erica Swenson Elliott, and I am talking to you today about a topic that I've been infuriated about my entire career as a tax advisor for individuals. You can look at my credentials on my website, which I have up here behind, Tales from the Storykeeper. I've now published about 8 books. I think I'm on my ninth right now on different topics from fiction to nonfiction. Uh, but I spent my career making money as a CPA first with the Big Four public accounting. At the time I joined, when I was 21, it was Big Eight, and that's been reduced to the final four, I like to say. Um, for the last almost 20 years, I've now had my own boutique firm providing tax advice and preparation to individuals. So I know what I'm talking about. I know how much money people have paid in, and I know how difficult and outrageous the government has behaved in the fine-tune audits and assessments that they have done on the individual taxpayers of this great country for over 35 years. There is a boatload of bureaucracy. It's impossible to get money back for taxpayers. It's like getting blood from a stone, literally. I've spent countless hours of my life on the phone and writing correspondence with the IRS and helping clients pay in enormous sums of money into the US Treasury. So they need to be audited just like the rest of us. They audit us since the beginning of their tax directives. It's time for them to be audited, finally. And the one thing about fraud and abuse that when I do my required CPA classes that we have to take to keep our licenses active is, when does fraud happen? When no one's looking, when there's a possible opportunity. Basically, 90% of all frauds happen when you know you can get away with it. And if you see how people, I don't care what party you're a member of, you see how our politicians that we put into office are behaving right now is exactly what people caught in a fraud look like. When you're screaming and look over here and look over there, don't look at the money, you're not allowed to touch the money. That's always connected with how people behave in a fraud. So just think about frauds you've witnessed. Um, you need to and we, the taxpayers, need to actually get behind this as individuals and do our part because it's all of them. They're all complicit in some way. If they're not taking the money, they know who is taking the money. And it's pretty breathtaking to see it coming forward with all of the work of the Doge team. Thank God we finally have a Doge department. One of the reasons why I'm so upset is I've seen how people have suffered. I've seen how US taxpayers have been hurt, not supported as soon as they can't pay their taxes. And there's a lot of reasons why people end up not being able to pay their taxes, starting with medical, family, health, jobs being taken from them, being fired, going to prison. There's all kinds of reasons why people end up not being able to pay taxes and then finally getting caught up. And there is no forgiveness, very difficult to get. Um, and then imagine trying to help people that can't pay their taxes, who then therefore can't pay you to help them get out of the jam. So you can see it's a terrible scenario. So the fact that these same people are saying we can't audit them with what they're doing with our money is ridiculous, because they need to account for every single penny that they have taken from us. And the terrible thing is they've taken our money and they have used it. against us, to surveil us, to criminalize us, track us down when we're not doing what they tell us to. So if you don't think it's sometimes akin to the servitude system, that is how they view us. And the way they're behaving should wake you up now. So, what are some of the things you can do as a taxpayer? This is the website I've been spending a lot of time on. And you've seen people waving this around if you're watching the news, but you can go on this. The tool has been here, I think, since, I don't know, 2014, usaspending.gov. And I have a couple examples. So you can go out there, you can download this, look at it yourself, and you can sort it by a bunch of different ways. So, as some of you know, I spend a bunch of time in South Carolina, and my husband and I are residents of Florida, but we're also part-time in South Carolina, where he's from. So I picked South Carolina because it's a smaller state. And I'm like, all right, I just want to see what the big contracts are. The only filter I put in over here on the left is South Carolina. And I just want to see what the biggest one. So you can see, oh, the biggest one is Savannah River Nuclear Solutions, LLC. So this is what? Hundreds, thousands, millions. $23 billion dollars. This first contract is the largest one in the state. This is the obligation, meaning this is what our federal government has obligated itself to pay to the Savannah River Nuclear Solution entity, and they've so far paid 7.28 billion to Savannah River. I never heard of them. I've been around the state for over the last 20, 21 years a lot. So I looked, it's actually a nuclear waste facility, I think down in Aiken, South Carolina. So the feds are shipping their Cold War, according to the website of the business, their Cold War nuclear waste to Aiken, South Carolina, and paying this entity to, maintain it and make sure it doesn't leak. So that's the top four contracts. All right, now I'm going to come over to here. This is the one with the whole state. So I was looking at just the recipient of Savannah River Nuclear Solutions. I'm sure it needs to be done. I don't think it's a fraud, but who's looking at it? Who's auditing the money? How is it being spent? No one's answering that question. And judges want to send people to jail for asking the question how it was being spent. Here's the next one. Next one down, Washington Savannah River Company. 12.893 billion. So, South Carolina is relatively a poor state compared to other states from a per capita income, and it's also not that many people compared to other states. I think it's around 5 million now. So it's not money coming in for Medicare and Medicaid payments we're talking about. We're like, what is this? So it's taking money that you made and I made, and I want to know, how well was that being spent? Was that being efficient? If no one asks, the one thing that always happens in a fraud is if they know it's a crime of opportunity. 90% of all frauds are crimes of opportunity. So if no one's looking, and especially they're not letting anyone look, that's a big, big red flag. Number one in 101 forensic audits of fraud. Okay. So here's a few more. Centera, 1.3. So again, this is all like government contract stuff. None of this is big dollars coming to South Carolina for um, helping the people. So very, interesting. And I'm not saying this is the only one. It's just an easy one to kind of look at from a small state perspective. And I know that it's Lindsey Graham, who's been a longtime senator, and then Tim Scott is the second, the junior senator right now. And before that was Strom Thurmond, and with him was Fitz Hollins, which I met once a long time ago. Uh, but Strom Thurmond, you and many of you are too young and weren't born yet, so you wouldn't know this. But when I was in college, uh, in the mid 80s, Joe Biden was almost thrown out as a senator, kicked out of the Senate. And why was that? It was because he was caught cheating and had come back up, I think, when the internet was starting, not even the internet, just like electronic files, but it had been someone had leaked how he had cheated on his college exams and plagiarized, I think plagiarized a new research paper, a term paper, like he had paid someone to write it or something ridiculous. And who saved Joe Biden? It was Strom Thurmond. And at that point, Strom Thurmond had switched across the aisle and had now become a Republican because he was so popular in the state of South Carolina. He ended up becoming a senator as a write-in candidate because he was so popular, or maybe it was when he was a governor. It was like when I was born. So he'd been around forever, right? So if you think back to that, if it hadn't been for Strom Thurmond in the 80s saving Biden, and keeping and getting other senators to keep him in the Senate and not terminate him, there was, it makes sense that there was, I won't look, I'll look the other way. You have dirt on me. You have dirt on me. We'll all help each other. So you look at these older stories and you look back through time and then you realize how bad it could possibly be. And I don't know. Like this is just from the outside, right? I don't have any proof, but I want the one thing you can do is follow the cash. When you follow the cash, lots of things are disclosed. And then one of the examples that Elon Musk looked at when he's like, well, there's no name on and it's just going to a numbered account and it's been going there for years. That is absolutely appalling. And if this had been any public company that was found in the required audits that the federal government requires them to do as a regulating issue for the corporation, they would be canned. The company would be taken over and sold off for parts. So the fact that the feds, who are the ones auditing all of us and the corporations, don't think that they need to disclose where payment or even follow the rules at all with where they're sending money is absolutely ridiculous, hypocritical, and needs to stop. And it's not going to stop unless we all keep pounding it. And how do we keep pounding it? We can do our part, do little tweets, X's, Truth Social, YouTube videos, write letters, call your congressmen, call your senators, ask questions. I don't, but we have to stick together and enough of this, you know, the Republicans and the Democrats, it's us, the taxpayers, they view as the enemy, and they want to keep us suppressed and fighting with each other instead of looking at them. So it is time for them to shut up and show up and put the numbers on the table. They need to listen to us. We want to know what the heck they've been doing. We want it all. We want all the receipts. Enough of the talk. They need to shut up and put up. All right. One ticked off CPA tax advisor. Let me just show you one more thing. I don't take any tax preparation work for anyone. I have enough clients with problems. I don't need to do that. But I do consulting for people if you're trying to figure out, get like a new financial plan going because you don't have any money or you need you have too much in income tax debt that they're still trying to collect from you, but they don't want you asking any questions about them. I can help you with that. I do these little like 30-minute calls and I can work with whoever your tax preparer is or your CPA, your estate planner. But okay, so you can click through on my website, Erica Swenson Elliott. If you want to know more about me first before buying a session, you can click through and read one of my books. I have them on Kindle. I don't have them on Audible yet. I just have them on Kindle and paper. One free tool you can do for yourself, and I would suggest this is now an actual functioning good tool that didn't really exist to the level of quality before, but you can now create an online account and actually view old tax returns, balances, make payments, do a number of things. So this is very useful. It's a pain to set up. It's better to be at a computer, not a phone when you do it. You're going to need to have like your government ID with you when you first create it. But I would suggest doing this because you can end up helping yourself and whoever you're getting into behind in tax payments. One example, they love to attack self-employed people. Like that's who it's easy for them to audit you, and it's a lot of, and this is like part of the whole non-tax on no tax on tips discussion, is it's very easy for them low-hanging fruit to make you pay more. You can't afford a tax advisor to help you in the audit. Um, so there's a lot of ways for them just to pick on you, the little guy, instead of, having Amazon pay more in income tax than they do. Um, so they can make their numbers look better coming after you. And of course, you can be audited. You have to explain everything. They apparently don't have to explain anything. Ain't right. All right. So I'm gonna end on two more things besides my back career. I write a bunch of books. Here's you can do click on my memoir page to see if it comes over. This is the book I helped my husband with, but I didn't write this one. I just helped him get it published and like was more editor. That's a great business book if you're looking for business principles. But here's my two books. You can see more about this. Experience the raw emotions, personal struggles, and triumphant moments that resonate with authenticity and introspection. A fascinating love story of a powerhouse CEO and his unusual tax accountant. That would be me. A true tale woven through with precious nuggets of timeless advice and clever, practical business principles. Um, only my can click through. Here's my little phone call book online, and I'm going to read to you my tax poetry, my one tax poem that I wrote. I think I wrote it in 2018. Taxing poetic. When the world has wound down and the remainder men wander the coated deserts, searching for their dwindling shares, the regulators will be dining at the oasis on their largesse of their sumptuous feast, derived from their lion size first cut. The end. And some little tax humor in there. A remainderment is a technical term. It's like the people at the bottom of the trust. When the trust is busted at the end, that's who gets whatever's left over. And the coded deserts is the Internal Revenue Code. And the dwindling share is the share from the trust. That's your last piece. And the regulators, we know who that is. It's all the people inside the Beltway that consider us the enemy, the taxpayers. They will be dining at their oasis, at the over there in Davos at the World Economic Forum. Their largesse of their sumptuous feast taken with their first lion-sized cut. Think about that. Ask questions, demand answers. We, the taxpayers, have a voice. And now we have access to the receipts.